Which is more lethal, an unintentional act, or a small lie deliberately allowed to grow, until it destroys a person's reputation, career, and life? Smoke from his cigarette floated thinly above the wooden table. The air was cold. Neon lights outside the cafe pressed a gloomy blue onto the glass. Ricardo sipped his coffee, now cold, bitter. He hadn't been able to sleep for 3 nights. It all started with a tap on the shoulder. Stupid. 3 days ago, office, closing time. Ketty, his colleague, stood in front of the elevator door. Far from Ricardo. They were never close. Only morning greetings. Occasional group messages about food. The elevator arrived. The doors opened. Ricardo entered. Ketty followed. Only the 2 of them. 13th floor down. On the 8th floor, the elevator stopped. No one entered. Ricardo looked down. His wallet was slightly open. His ID card protruded a little. He needed to fix it. He exhaled. Ketty stood still, staring at her reflection in the shiny elevator door. Ricardo raised his left hand, straightened his slightly crooked shirt collar. A reflexive gesture. Suddenly, the elevator jolted. The lights went out. In the sudden darkness, Ketty flinched slightly. Ricardo felt his heart racing. Total darkness. Their breathing could be heard clearly. The lights came back, the elevator lit dimly. It was moving down again. At that moment, Ricardo tapped Ketty's shoulder lightly. Only for a fraction of a second. His palm landed on Ketty's right shoulder. A spontaneous gesture. To calm her, perhaps. Or just to signal that the power outage had ended. Ricardo immediately withdrew his hand. No words were exchanged. Ketty's face. That's what he remembered. Her eyes widened briefly. Then her expression stiffened, cold. The elevator reached the lobby. The doors opened. Ketty walked out without looking at Ricardo. Quick steps. Ricardo followed 2 seconds later. His head felt slightly dizzy. Just a tap, he muttered. He took a deep breath. Now, cafe, 11 o'clock at night. He knew the tap was wrong. He shouldn't have touched. Someone without reason. But he meant nothing. Just a reflex in the dark. The next day, he passed Ketty's desk. She didn't greet him. That was normal. Not too important. But the look he got from Brad, the manager of the neighboring team, felt like a small knife. Brad didn't look at Ricardo's eyes. He looked past him. But as Ricardo walked by, Brad immediately looked down, his face frowning. Ricardo felt a chill at the back of his neck. "You okay?" A voice said behind Ricardo. Laia, his teammate. She held a coffee mug, her expression concerned, or perhaps just curious. "Me, I'm fine. What's up?" Laia leaned slightly forward, whispered. "Ketty, she called in sick today. She said she's not feeling well." "Oh." Ricardo grabbed his water bottle from his desk. "I didn't know. You've heard the story going around." Laia didn't ask, she stated. Ricardo stared at her. "What story?" "The tap in the elevator, last night, before the lights went out." Ricardo froze. Only one night. The story had already spread. He felt a knot in his stomach. "It was an accident. The power went out. I just tapped her shoulder because we were startled." Laya exhaled, then blew her breath out quickly. Of course. But Ketty told it differently. She said your tap felt uncomfortable and too long. Too long, Ricardo almost shouted. He held back his voice. It was a fraction of a second. I pulled my hand away immediately. Laya shook her head. She looked around, then lowered her voice again. Some people are saying you've been stalking her for a long time. You know, you and Ketty often ride the elevator together. It's a public elevator. I've never stalked her. Laya just shrugged. I know, Ricardo. But in the office, stories travel faster than the truth. And Ketty, she's quite popular. Brad is very close to her too. The glass in Ricardo's head felt cracked. That one tap became a distorted story. A silent manipulation. That night, Ricardo sent a message to Ketty. Simple text. Ketty, I apologize about yesterday in the elevator. It was a spontaneous reaction due to the dark. I meant nothing. Ketty didn't reply. Ricardo tried to work normally on the second day. He felt everyone staring at him. Every conversation that stopped as he approached felt like an accusation. Paranoia crept like a cold fog at the cafeteria. He saw Brad laughing loudly with some colleagues. Then Brad's eyes shifted to Ricardo. His laughter stopped. Brad whispered softly to his friend. The friend turned to Ricardo, then immediately looked away, at lunch. Ricardo looked at his phone. There was a new message. Not from Ketty, from Donnie, his manager, Ricardo. Can you come to meeting room A after lunch? There's something we need to discuss. Ricardo knew it wasn't about work. His tongue felt dry, a consequence of a daily action misinterpreted. In meeting room A, Donnie sat across the table. His expression serious. He didn't look at Ricardo. He looked at the pen he was twirling in his fingers. Ricardo, Donnie said. His voice low and flat. No anger, just fatigue. This is about Ketty. I've already apologized. It was just a startled reaction. Donnie raised a hand. I know, Ricardo. I believe you, but we have to see it from Ketty's point of view. She felt threatened. She said you tapped her shoulder after the lights went out, and that touch panicked her. I didn't know she had panic issues. She never told us. But this is about reputation. For the office and for you. Brad, as her colleague, was very vocal about it. Ricardo's head spun. Brad is jealous, he said. His voice slightly trembling. Maybe, but jealous or not. The story has already spread. And we can't allow discomfort. Ketty is a valuable employee. Donnie sighed. He flipped the pen in his hand. Take 3 days off. Not a punishment, Ricardo, but as a way to calm the situation. After 3 days, everything will return to normal. Ricardo just nodded. He couldn't argue. He felt trapped. Refusing leave would seem like defiance. Accepting leave was a quiet admission of guilt. He chose the latter. A wrong decision. That night, calf 11 p.m., his second night off. Ricardo stared at his reflection in the cafe window. His face tired, his eyes sunken. He felt like a criminal, but he hadn't done anything. Just tapped a shoulder. He moved his coffee cup. Under the cup, there was a paper napkin. On it, a handwritten phone number. Ketty's number. He didn't know why he kept it. Laya had given it to him 2 days ago. Just in case, she said. Ricardo took the napkin. He held his phone. He could call. Say, everything on his mind, that he was not guilty, that this story was ridiculous. He pressed the number. His left hand held the cigarette. The call connected. 1 ring, 2 rings. Hello. Ketty's voice, calm, no panic. Ketty, this is Ricardo. Silence for a moment. Then Ketty laughed softly. A laugh that was not pleasant. Oh, Ricardo, I thought you disappeared. I want to apologize again. But I also want you to know I meant nothing. I wasn't stalking you. It was a reflex. I know, Ricardo. Ricardo felt relief. You know. Of course, I know. I just got startled for a moment back then. But then, I saw Brad in the lobby. Ricardo paused. Brad. Yes, Brad was in the lobby. He saw the two of us in the elevator when you tapped my shoulder. I saw his eyes, jealous. So why did you say the touch was too long and made you panic? Ketty exhaled. That was Brad's idea. He approached me when you left the lobby. He said he would protect me. He asked me to exaggerate the story so he could protect me from you. Why did you go along with it? You know it wasn't true. Her voice turned cold. Like ice cracking, I needed a promotion. Ricardo. Coordinator position. Brad could help me. He likes me a lot. And, you know, you're just an ordinary guy. Alone. I don't lose anything. This was a small risk I needed to take to advance. I'm sorry you had to take leave, but you'll be fine. Ricardo couldn't speak. The destruction happened slowly, just because of one tap, one small lie. One personal ambition. Ketty's dilemma was promotion versus truth. I hope you succeed, Ketty. Ricardo ended the call. He wasn't angry, just empty. He finished his coffee, put out the cigarette in the ashtray, picked up his jacket. Ricardo returned to the office after 3 days. Everyone seemed friendly. Smiles here and there, as if they had forgotten the incident. Donnie greeted him. Feeling better, Ricardo. Everything's back to normal. Ricardo nodded. He sat at his desk. A few hours later, he heard whispers near the coffee machine. Ketty. She moved teams, right? Yes, to Brad's team. Immediately became coordinator. So fast. Hey, look. Ricardo's desk. Something's missing, isn't it? Ricardo looked at his desk. Everything was there, except he realized he had lost something important. Not a thing, but trust. His reputation had been shaken. He would always be the man accused by Ketty. He picked up his phone, opened his calendar. He had an important meeting with a major client next week. A client he had been following for 6 months. Ricardo pressed the button to call the client. The call connected. Hello. Good afternoon, Mr. Joe. Oh, Ricardo. Good afternoon. I'm sorry. What happened, sir? I've cancelled our meeting next week. Sorry. I'm already working with Brad. He convinced me. And, honestly, I heard some stories about you. I can't take the risk. Ricardo hung up, finished. His destruction was complete, not fired, but isolated. His reputation slowly ruined by one lie and one ambition. He looked at his dead phone screen on his desk, where he usually put a framed family photo. Now, there was a small stack of documents newly placed by Donnie. Ricardo picked up the stack. On top, A small post-it note, internal investigation report. Ketty case, Ricardo read the conclusion. No evidence of malicious intent by Mr. Ricardo. However, according to Mr. Brad and Ms. Ketty, the incident created an uncomfortable work environment. Recommended transfer Mr. Ricardo's clients to Mr. Brad to maintain business stability. Ricardo crumpled the paper. He smiled slightly. Calm, he looked out the window. The sky had darkened, blue and gloomy. Just like the cafe, he took a pen from his desk, crossed a number on his small calendar. The number 23 on that date in the calendar. He wrote below the number, Ketty and Brad, celebration dinner for promotion. That was the date Ketty had given him when they were still just friends, months ago. A plan that never happened, but written in the calendar. Ricardo put the pen back. He grabbed his bag, then stood up. He walked out of his cubicle, past Brad and Ketty's desks. They were both laughing. Ketty held a coffee cup. Brad smiled proudly. Ricardo didn't stop. He didn't get angry. Nothing. He left the building. Reached the parking lot. Ricardo took out his car keys. Opened the door. Suddenly, he felt something hard and cold on his back. A strong hand pushed him inside. Ricardo fell into the car seat. Behind him, Brad's face, cold, you know, Ricardo. I heard you called Ketty stupid. She already told you. Of course she did. I like that, but you shouldn't have called her. You've already disrupted our plan. Brad got into the passenger seat. Right next to Ricardo, he held something. A large screwdriver. You'll be fine, Ricardo. This is just a parking accident. You know, a small tragic accident. Ricardo looked into Brad's eyes. He didn't resist. Just smiled faintly. You won't succeed. Brad, why? Everyone believes my story, and Ketty's. Ricardo pointed to the back seat of the car. Brad looked. On the back seat was Ricardo's open work bag. Inside, a small digital recorder. Its red light blinking. I recorded all the calls. Brad, from the cafe. The call to Ketty. I sent copies to Donnie and some of your team. 30 seconds ago, that call contains Ketty's confession about your lies. Brad's face turned purple. He dropped the screwdriver. You. Ricardo just stared. Calm. I know. Brad, Ricardo said. His voice low. You're not just jealous. You wanted my clients. You knew that one small tap would give you a chance. I knew it, because I also planned it. Brad was shocked. What? Yes, 3 weeks ago. I saw you and Ketty at the same cafe. You were laughing. She seemed comfortable. I knew you liked her. I deliberately wore a crooked shirt. I deliberately left my wallet slightly open. So I'd have a reason to touch my collar in the elevator. I deliberately tapped her. So you would overreact and take action. And you succeeded. Ricardo smiled coldly. You said I had nothing. But I have one thing. I'm an ordinary guy with nothing left to lose. I already knew I would lose my client. So, I will make sure to bring you and Ketty down with me. I won't let you win. You and Ketty are intentional enemies. Ricardo opened the car door calmly. He stepped out. Brad sat silently in the car seat, staring at the blinking digital recorder. His hands trembling. I'm sorry, Brad, but in this world, you can't take someone's reputation just with one tap. Sometimes, the tap is the bait. Ricardo closed the car door. He walked away, his steps steady. He didn't look back. Behind the car window, Brad screamed. But his voice was muffled. The scream of a man caught red-handed. Perfect destruction. Ricardo stopped by the roadside. He took out his phone again, recorded a short voicemail. Sent it to Donnie. Donnie, this is Ricardo. The recording I sent contains Ketty's confession. I hope you handle it. I've taken permanent leave. Thank you. He turned off his phone. He stood under the gloomy neon light, alone. Destruction had indeed happened. But it wasn't only his. The wrong decision belonged to Brad and Ketty, not him.